36 seconds of logos. Not the longest we've seen, but if you divide 36 by 3, you get 12, which just so happens to be the exact amount of fucks you should give that I've skipped Terrifier 1 and 2 and jumped straight to Sinning 3. That's it. 12 fucks. That's all you get. To share. Movie set at Christmas opens up on the outside of a house of a family who have way too high of a Christmas decorations budget cliche. This stocking does not contain a machine gun.
What's wrong?
There's someone on the roof.
Kids.
Keep your voice down, okay? Don't wake up your brother.
Randomly mentioning a brother just so we're aware there is not one but 2 children who are about to get brutally murdered. Yay?
Nobody believes me.
You know who I really think it was?
Who?
One of Santa's elves.
Consoling your kid who feels like no one believes her by feeding them even more ridiculous shit no one will believe.
Santa?
Okay, humanity, this shit right here is why the magic of Christmas isn't worth it. Sure, you get to spin some yarn for a few years about how a magic man leaves you presents in return for not being a little shit all year. But at the same time, you're teaching your kids not to give a fuck about home invasions by some creep in woolly PJs carrying an axe around the house who then murders everyone and leaves no presents and everyone dies, and that's why I snuck downstairs and ate the cookies you left for Santa, Mom. We wouldn't dare play the sounds of child murder, but be assured child murder is happening, and Terrifier 3 is getting sins for it. So here's 1,000 sins to put in the stocking, and Art the Clown's name is going to the top of the naughty list. Being the sound a sleeper. This is why I can't stand most Christmas horror movies. The depth in 95% of these begins and ends at a writer thinking, I can't fucking stand Christmas and I hate other people do like it. So let's take all their fucking joy away by sticking a psychopath in a Santa suit and have him kill people in the most outlandish and gruesome ways I can think up. Discount here's Johnny, putting all the calories back on that you just successfully burned murdering an entire family. 5 years prior is a weird way of saying we gifted you with this random cold open of action, which has no bearing on the rest of the fucking movie, as an apology for the following hour of Terrifier mythos wrangling you're about to sit through, combined with futile character development for people we already know are dead.
Dispatch, I got a decapitated body down here. The victim appears to be male.
Gendering headless corpses.
Dispatch, I'm not alone down here. What's the ETA on the backup?
Multiple units arriving shortly.
Police officer realizes murderer might still be nearby and not only chooses to not be quiet, but allows dispatch to tip off the killer to ETA for backup. Apparently the clown died at the end of Terrifier 2, except he didn't. He survived being decapitated because demon magic? Well, I guess that makes him unkillable, which means everyone is f***ed and should just accept that a monochromatic murder clown now rules the world. 15-minute movie, the end. Now that he can finally pass as a convincing human, I'm left wondering what Art's headless body's plan was here. Just chill underground until some poor fucker stumbled upon him? Not necessarily sinning that it's a dumb plan, but more that even stupid plans need a brain to incept them. The security officer appears to be a bit lost in his thoughts. I'm just gonna guess he is dealing with the fact that this is what he became now that he's betrayed everyone he's ever loved and pushed them all away. He's now a slave to the Judas in his mind and is wondering if there's anything to save from the wreckage of his life. Also, Chris Jericho and Fozzie tried to rhyme mind and life, and I have never forgiven them for it. Chris Jericho's security bro was given this skull and crossbones mug as a foreshadowing of his death, when simply being a hospital security guard in a horror movie performs the same job with fewer mug expenses. We can't show it, so I'll describe what's going on here. The lady who was brutally attacked in the first movie is sucking the life force out of a dead nurse via a tube connected to the head of an evil clown while it sucks on a hopefully dead nurse's neck. Sweet, that description doubles as a sin. Gather around, team. I've got this great vision for a creepy ritual with candles and goat sacrifices and runes and shit, and that's how they reconnect the clown's head to its body. Okay, I like that, but hear me out. Duct tape. Someone wants me to swallow that the only other passenger on this train just happens to be dressed up for Halloween and just happens to be dressed as our villain. No, I will not be swallowing that.
Oh, you got glitter all over your face.
That's sugar.
Not pictured in this scene, a face covered in glitter or sugar.
Looks like a fairy tale exploded in here.
Exploded in a very neat and orderly fashion, as if intending to decorate a child's bedroom, yes.
P.S. We still haven't made it to the moon.
Oh, fucking great. Now I'm expected to root for a kid who denies the moon landings.
Our little cardboard rocket ship.
You remember?
Skip!
It's a rat, kid, not the devil.
What an oddly specific reference to make in a place that actually contains a devil that you do not know is currently residing here.
I just hate places like this. It's like they got a soul and they're pissed that we're tearing them apart.
May I be so bold as to suggest that as a person who demolishes buildings for a living, you may be in the wrong fucking line of work. Discount Jason Patrick. Holy sh**!
What's the matter with Blaster Man?
Someone told Jason Patrick he could never do a worse movie than Speed 2, and then Jason Patrick turned to the person and told him to hold his 1987 Lost Boys mullet. Also, this franchise relishes in showing as many graphically f***ed up murders as it can, often quite literally splitting people in two, but then also on sentimental moments like this. While I have room in my heart for both, I don't know who's appreciating both at the same time. Your standard bathtub can hold 80 gallons of liquid. The human body contains about 11 gallons of blood. Now, I know this bath had some liquid in it before Vicky climbed in. And Vicky is also taking up space, but I still think I should be able to send the movie for making me Google how much human blood fits in a standard bathtub. I'll admit I've always wondered in a lot of these major horror franchises what the killers, a la Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger, have been up to in their downtime. These movies rarely, if ever, show us. But now that Terrifier 3 has chosen to show us what Art and Victoria have been up to, and it's that they hibernated for 5 years, I would rather go back and have that aspect of the killer remain a mystery. They might be unkillable monsters, but they're not goddamn bears.
Dennis, get your ass up here!
Up? But you said...
I'll take the first floor and the basement, and you upstairs.
How did you forget where you were in relation to the only other person here?
Are you real?
What exactly woke Art and Victoria up? Was it just the demolition guy showing up to the house? What if no one had ever shown up to this house? Would they have just remained immobile forever and there never would have been a Terrifier 3? Can we go back to that scenario? Vicky, experiments with a shard of glass while this innocent man is killed, which I'm sure is the movie's damning indictment of the modern audience's willingness to pay dollar bills to watch torture porn. Sweet, that description doubles as a sin. Sex shaming.
Christmas hasn't really been the same around here since someone stopped believing in Santa Claus.
I'm sure Greg is really upset that he doesn't have to sneak downstairs at 2 a.m. to put together tricycles and kitchen sets that have instructions that might as well have been written by a child, just so he can then wake up an hour later and have Gabby thank an imaginary figure instead of the person that almost lost a finger putting everything together.
That's the rice.
Gabby flinches when a vision she can't see bangs on the table.
I need to be creative.
Well, friend, you appear to be in the wrong movie. Art appears to be creating some new torture toys by boiling paint?
It looks amazing.
It does not. You know, a movie is interesting when you're thinking, how are they able to get Clint Howard to agree to this?
That Santa outfit comes with some perks, dude.
Why and how? And also why? What the f*** is this nonsense? Is Art taking part in side quests now? I get slasher movies got a slasher and find ways to up the body count, but this movie didn't need to be 2 hours. Why is scene?
It's Clowny Claus.
Choosing Clowny Claus over Santa Clown, Robert Clowney Jr. Oh, what the f*** are you doing? Give my friend his hat back, you f***ing weirdo.
Oh, shit.
Ever wanted to see a clown evacuate their bladder on a Santa Claus? Yeah, me neither.
Son of a bitch. This is my busy weekend.
Then why are you wearing your Santa suit to a f***ing bar? Getting covered in bodily fluids and beer was an inevitability. I want to be clear, I do not enjoy the creative butchery in this franchise, but I sure do respect it more than pulling out a gun and just shooting people. As I watch a clown Mr. Freeze Santa, I want to acknowledge the fact that someone, I don't know who, but someone involved with this movie is really f***ing proud that they remembered Satan as an anagram of Santa.
What if that little episode was just a microcosm of what's to come?
Expecting me to believe Greg knows a complex word like microcosm or episode.
I'm not gonna abandon her.
While I'm loath to defend Greg, he's not suggesting abandoning her. He just said it might not be wise to leave Sienna alone as Gabby's sole guardian for Christmas shopping.
Let's take a break. Santa's gotta go feed his reindeer.
F***ing assholes. You should know when Santa needs a break and manage that line accordingly. Don't let people line up when there's a chance they won't even get to ride. This isn't Disneyland, ass. Holy shit, he didn't even wait until he was behind the scenes to take his hat off. Christmas really is dead. Art must have been resurrected with a fucking Sienna detector built into his skull, considering how unlikely it is that he just happens to be in this mall at the exact time she's doing her Christmas shopping.
Sienna Shaw is the prime suspect. She's linked to every single victim.
Yep, every single victim except for all the victims in the first movie, who she has no link to at all.
Oh my god. Sienna. You're Sienna Shaw.
Jonathan was just interrogated by this Gen Z stereotype last night, and yet he still chose to have lunch with Sienna on campus.
Can't you act like a human being for one second?
This girl was insensitively prying into how Sienna is coping with being the survivor of a serial killer in an attempt to boost the download numbers for her podcast. Seems pretty human to me.
Sienna, what's wrong with you?
Dude, you were literally in the last movie. What do you think is wrong with her?
We both know this isn't over.
We're an hour and 6 minutes in, and you are yet to properly meet the f***er. So yeah, we all know this sadly isn't over.
You don't know that. I mean, Jesus Christ, you cut his f***ing head off.
Jonathan would be terrifying at CinemaSins. Also, Jonathan. Movie dwells on this picture of the Last Supper for a few seconds because the movie feels like it hasn't been upfront enough about how much the people behind the film hate Christmas and Jesus.
That's why Daddy created the sword. Whoever chose me was guiding him. He was preparing me for this.
Sure, preparing you by making a magic sword and armor, but not telling you any of the specifics or literally a single fucking thing about how any of this works.
It's using Victoria Hayes as a host now, isn't it?
I'd love to know how Sienna made the leap to Victoria Hayes, considering Art's head was taken away by that creepy little girl, who I'm pretty sure was supposed to be imaginary. Sienna has zero reason to suspect Vicky is even alive, let alone possessed by a goddamn demon and puppeting Art.
I have to go back to the Terrifier.
It's still buried there, isn't it?
And if I'm right, it might be the only thing that can stop them.
Sienna is inexplicably right on the fucking money on all counts here. Also, why did she bury the sword? Why would she leave behind the magic sword, gifted to her by her now dead father, by the way, that saved the life of her and her brother? Also, she didn't bury the sword. She just left it on some disused ladder. Why are we retconning that she decided to bury the fucking thing while Jonathan was bleeding out? Also, part 3, if she believes Art is back, clearly the sword isn't worth shit. She chopped off his head and he's apparently thirsty for more. Jesus, how long are Santa and his elves taking for this break? Since we saw him leave, Sienna has finished shopping in the mall, had lunch with Jonathan, had an argument with Jonathan, rehashed an entire trilogy of plot development to Jonathan, and they are still on break. This works way longer than it should. Kids get scared easily and buy a lot of shit, and it's with good reason, for they are tiny and easily squishable. So there's zero fucking chance that this terrifying ass clown is getting a grin from this tiny human just because he's dressed as Bloody Santa. Surprise! Art is giving out actual presents here instead of razor blades. But where did he get them from? He certainly didn't buy them with his demon wages, not in this economy, which means we're saying that a clown dressed as Santa shoplifted a sack of presents and went completely unnoticed. 90% of the kids seen here are wearing the same red flannel shirt. Guess the costume department got a bulk deal after blowing all the budget on that sweet Santa outfit. So much child murder. Somehow this movie is over 2 hours long and still didn't think it had time to show us Sienna returning to the roll credits ride and retrieving the sword. If you're not going to show it to us, why not just say she took the damn thing with her? Also, if you're fortunate enough to have missed Terrifier 2, allow me to explain why this sword is important. It was gifted to Sienna by her dad and is imbued with a magic that allows it to slay demons. Sienna is also some kind of demigod, Valkyrie, Wonder Woman person who I think came back from the dead in a Jesus meets Harry Houdini fashion after drowning in a clown cafe. And I guess you'll just have to decide for yourselves if I just made all that up.
What's that?
Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing, snooping around like that?
Yeah, Gabby, how dare you walk around your own house looking at things with your eyes and shit. What a dick.
What happened to your hands?
I fell.
Into coal?
Those are my favorite. Do you want some?
No thanks.
Oh, sorry. I forgot you don't like cereal anymore.
I initially thought this literal cookie cutter conversation was dumb filler, but it's actually so much worse. It exists purely to set up this Gabby knows that Sienna doesn't like cereal anymore, and she could only possibly know that by reading Sienna's diary, which Sienna figures out and gets mad conflict. Might be the dumbest way to land yourself in trouble since Brett refused to remove the word what from his vocabulary.
You have to promise me you're not going to tell anyone what you read in my journal, okay?
I promise.
Don't you fucking believe her, Sienna. This kid read your entire diary and barely showed any remorse. Cut her out of the will, burn her Christmas presents, and do not believe—
Pinky swear.
Ah, shit, she pinky swore? Well then, you can totally believe her. I take it all back.
Art the Clown? The most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper.
Art just happened to be walking by Mia's room when she is saying the most amazing shit about him. If I was him, I'd be creeped out and just leave.
Okay, so remind me how to play this again. It's been a while.
You mean the one you picked because—
Let's play Pictionary so I can kick your ass.
That one? The one you now don't know the rules to?
There's no Miles County clowns.
I wasn't under the impression that his existence was up for debate, Gregory. We've had fucking news reports about Art the Clown since the first goddamn movie. People are dressing up like him for Halloween.
Did you get it?
Make up your fucking mind, Jonathan. You rage texted your aunt saying that Sienna was getting worse, but now you're like, did you get the enchanted sword that can save the day? Does he believe her or not?
I gave her something to help her sleep.
Sienna agreed to this because being drowsy in the face of a serial killer is just a solid plan A.
Be careful.
Call me if anything.
Call me if anything. Didn't feel like completing that sentence, Gregory? Was walking, talking, and opening the door just a bit too much for that underused muscle living rent and purpose-free in your skull? Sex in a public shower. And it's either a men's gym or a men's dorm room public shower. If Mia didn't get killed by Art, she would have died from whatever shower wall STD decided to crawl onto her that evening. I'm pretty sure the most important question this movie leaves unanswered is, why does Art have to pee? Also, if there's a valid reason to the above, why do we need to see him peeing? Washing urine off your blood-stained gloves. Some heinous shit is happening on screen, which is why I bring you parrots and the following music. When the movie attempts some sentimentality or world building, I think to myself, man, this is dull. I wish we get back to the slashing. But paradoxically, when we do return to the slashing, I'm like, man, this is gross. I wish we get back to the world building. I hate them both in equal measure, but I hate the one I'm currently experiencing more. It's like stubbing your toe and wishing for a paper cut. Bullshit. How did he manage to leave a blood angel that perfect unless what we just saw wasn't a scene transition, but was literally him vanishing in thin air? Which, with this franchise, wouldn't f***ing surprise me.
Jonathan, I'm here.
Where? I don't see you.
Vicky, who I believe is a demon, pulls a T-1000 on Greg because she can't kill her victims without first marinating them in a fermented au jus of f***ery. Here you go, daughter. Take a look at this scantily clad princess warrior picture I drew that we hope will be every young boy's alone time choice for the next several years. I modeled it after you.
Can't you defeat Blaster Man?
Oh, yeah. 10 Blaster Men.
But she'll have to work twice as hard, and on average will get paid 13% less. Also, Blaster Man might be the least effort I've seen put into a comic book name. May as well have called him Hero Guy or Superman. You know, the thing I really can't wait to do is go back and rewatch the first Terrifier to see all those subtle Demon Warrior Princess Easter eggs that I'm sure Damien Leone had to have planted. I can think back to when I was watching Art Saw a Woman in Half Diagonally and everyone I talked to thinking I'm stupid when I brought up the clear Demon Warrior Princess subtext that is layered throughout this sequence. Well, who's stupid now? Oh, it's still me. Totally fair. Also, rewatch the first Terrifier. And now we have an interpretation of the nativity scene enacted by Channing Tatum's character from This Is the End and a Julie Andrews-ified version of the nun's character from The Nun.
I think we should go upstairs and smother her in her sleep.
Then we'd be free.
This will end up being Vicky talking, but how did she know Sienna was coming downstairs? Or was she just going to go on like this for hours to guarantee Sienna would walk in on it? I don't think Art is using the right wall fixings for a decoration of this size. This disemboweled body does not have a machine gun. Gabby! Well, shit, Sienna. What if they didn't know there was another person in the house? You might have just exposed Gabby, who was minding her own f***ing business, hiding somewhere. Purchasing someone this old camera for a Christmas gift in the 2020s. Hey, Bryce! Yeah, we know you've been busting your ass appearing in TV shows like The Good Doctor and as AAF Officer 2 in Oppenheimer. Stellar work, by the way, but I've finally got the part you've been waiting for. You're going to be the star in Terrifier 3. I mean, there's no other way to interpret that, right? Post-2000, I never thought there'd be a moment in my life where I would be watching a movie and think, I'd rather be watching the scene of them eating Ray Liotta's brains in Hannibal than I would whatever I'm watching currently, but here we are. Let me break this scene down while this hamster escaped from a cup. Through the mildly creative use of a tube, a blowtorch, some rats, and a kitchen knife, Art and Vicky complete the orphaning process of young Gabby. Sweet, that description doubles as a sin.
I have a confession to make. That's not Gabby.
Oh my God, I can't believe it, said no one in the audience because every one of us have seen a movie before. And it says a lot that a movie that opened with child murder can't even convince us that there was a child murdered later in the film.
I'll f***ing kill you!
Thinking this will hold any weight against a person you decapitated 5 years ago.
Jonathan!
We've seen the time jump in this movie plenty, but it apparently came about to justify why the actor playing Jonathan would look so much older. And thank God, too. I don't know what we would have done without those few scenes and his sudden off-screen death.
She's fighting for you, Gabby. And you're the only thing that's keeping her from letting me in.
Good to know that the demon's powers follow laws of family ties so closely. I mean, just imagine if Gabby was an absolute asshole and Sienna didn't like her at all. All would be lost.
I'm sorry you didn't get to open my present.
That's not fair.
Vicky falls for this and hands the magic sword right to Sienna. Reminds me of when Peter Green's character in The Mask removes the mask so that he can kiss Cameron Diaz one last time, which allows her to kick the mask to Jim Carrey. Yep, it's just like that.
Do you want to open it yourself?
Yes.
Then do it.
This plan doesn't work at all if Vicky decides to open the present herself like all the other presents she's opened. She unties Sienna and literally hands over her own undoing. It would be poetic as shit if it wasn't also dumb as shit. Art completely mangles Sienna's hands, and I'm sure that'll greatly affect her ability to wield a sword for the rest of the movie.
Best gift ever.
Citation needed.
Tell me how this tastes.
Well, Sienna, if you immediately go for the throat kill right after, then she doesn't even have a chance to answer your question. Art mangled Sienna's hands, and it doesn't appear to have greatly affected her ability to wield a sword for the rest of the movie. To be fair, this is way more of a suspenseful final battle than Halloween Ends. I would think about removing a sin, but the movie made me think of Halloween Ends, so no sin removal for you. Did she seriously just get the upper hand and then use the f***ing butt of the sword to clobber him instead of chopping his head off again? Yes, it appears she did. Wow, he really went through the table instead of around it, didn't he? I think Sienna and Art are made for each other. They both suck at ending this fight. Movie tries to wring suspense out of a scene involving a person we know can't be killed. getting stabbed. I'm on the edge of my seat. We have to blur it, but I assure you what is happening is that in the process of saving Gabby, Sienna is having to pull Gabby up by holding onto the blade end of the sword, which is slicing her hands all to shit while she brings Gabby to safety. Terrifier 3, thy name is Subtlety.
Gabby!
Great, looks like we're going to be getting Terrifier 4, The Search for Gabby, and I wouldn't be surprised if she has to travel back in time to 1980 to save some f***ing whales and run into Elsa from The Last Crusade, too. Sienna's dad said this sword could never hurt her, but those screams at the hell pit sure suggest otherwise. I guess what he should have said was, it will hurt like a motherfucker, but it won't do any lasting damage, allowing you to skip those pesky health insurance claims. And Art apparently left instead of trying to kill Sienna. It's not as if he had been trying to torture and kill her for the last half hour. So yeah, this act is well within character. Art and I celebrated the end of this movie in exactly the same way, by jumping on the nearest bus and getting as far fucking away from it as possible.
Magnets, how do they work?
Timber!
Good soup.
What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we f***ing funny? I'm not dead.
How'd you get those scars?
This bar is for bikers and truckers only.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Don't go past this point. You're gonna be in trouble.